I met Jordy at my first real job after college. She was the receptionist in the main lobby, and we eventually started dating. After we'd been together for a few years, though, her true colors began to show. She started displaying manipulative, violent, and, above all, severely mentally ill tendencies. I had to leave. I had no choice. Fast forward a few more years, post the nightmare of the initial split, and I was still being stalked and harassed by Jordy. Banging on my door at least once a week, multiple calls every night, and no matter how many times I blocked her, she kept making new accounts. But I eventually managed to get back on my feet elsewhere. And even better, I met someone else, Miriam. She was the complete opposite of Jordy in every way. Caring, reasonable, living a healthy lifestyle, and already the mother of 2 amazing children. Still, Jordy was of course furious I had gotten together with someone else. She started calling Miriam every night just to say the most horrible insults, among many, many other things. See, Jordy went as far as to follow Miriam's kids around. She even tried to pick them up from school one day, which is basically attempted kidnapping. There was also a strong possibility she tried to break into Miriam's house too. With those offenses, it was easy to file a hefty restraining order. At last I could breathe. I felt safe being alone again, as well as leaving Miriam at home while I worked. Things slowly went back to a sense of normal for me for the first time in almost a decade. If only it could have stayed that way. One day, I got a video call from Miriam while I was at work, sometime in the afternoon. She had just got home from picking up the kids from school, finding a surprise package at the door. It turned out to be a gift addressed to her, a basket full of fancy chocolate Easter eggs. It didn't say who it came from, but Easter was just around the corner. So we figured it might have been from the church down the street, or perhaps an old friend of Miriam's. I told the kids they were from me, playing it off as a freebie. Just one less gift I needed to get them for Easter. They were so thrilled.
Look! It's decorated with gold!
I see, wow. How much you think that's worth?
I don't know. Probably $1,000?
1,000, really? That's awesome. How many did you get?
1, 2, 3, 12.
Wow, that's a dozen. You got a dozen $1,000 Easter eggs.
Wow, a dozen thousands. You've really outdone yourself.
Well, you know, I try.
Seriously though, you better get home soon. There's not enough of these crazy creatures running around yet. I need you to help me make a 3rd or 4th.
Well, you don't have to tell me twice. During the call, I was occupied with the moment, just feeling the joy of something pleasant happening for once. As soon as I hung up, though, my old sense of paranoia came back. A random gift from a stranger. That can't be good, can it? But I pushed it down, not wanting to ruin my good mood. I left work a few minutes early, rushing home to my new family, refusing to think about the past. At home, I opened the door, expecting to hear the sounds of 2 kids mid-sugar rush and their mother trying to rein them in. Instead, the house was silent, dead quiet. I thought maybe they had fallen asleep, so I stayed quiet, putting my things away and taking off my shoes before tiptoeing into the living room. That's where I found them. They were all on the floor, just lying there crookedly. But Miriam, she was seizing. Her body was shaking violently. I ran to her, trying to stop it. She was uncontrollable. She was bleeding from her eyes, her mouth, nose, everywhere. The kids were the same, but the blood was drying up. And their eyes were lifeless. I thought I was going to be sick. I focused on the only thing I knew I could do, getting to a phone and calling for help. Miriam stopped shaking before the paramedics arrived, becoming completely unresponsive. Days later, she pulled through. I wish I could say the same for the children. Soon, while still grappling with the destruction of my entire world, I learned who was responsible. Jordy. Right as I thought I was finally moving on from her, she came back into my life just to wreck it. Those Easter eggs were from her. She loaded them all with poison, deliberately trying to kill my girlfriend and her family out of revenge. Can't believe I didn't see it coming. I thought the curse had been lifted, but I was just passing it. This Easter story was inspired by a horrific incident regarding a 35-year-old woman named Jordalia Pereira Barbosa, who was arrested in Brazil on suspicion of murder. after officials claim she spiked the chocolate Easter eggs in an act motivated by revenge and jealousy. The eggs were delivered to her ex-boyfriend's new partner, Miriam Lyra, who shared them out with her kids. Miriam's son reportedly fell ill immediately after eating the chocolate, prompting his mom to rush them to the hospital. Tragically, the boy could not be saved. Miriam and her daughter Evelyn also became sick and were rushed to hospital and miraculously survived. After the delivery, Miriam reportedly received an anonymous call asking if the package had arrived. Samples of the chocolate have been sent off for forensic analysis to confirm whether it was toxic. Cops arrested Jordalia as she took a bus to her hometown after staying in a hotel 200 miles away where the victim's family lives. Police reportedly found receipts and spoke to Jordalia's ex-partner, which led them to believe she could be involved. Cops also shared CCTV footage showing Jordalia buying Easter eggs while disguised in a black wig and dark sunglasses. Jordalia reportedly confessed to buying the chocolate, but denied loading it with poison.
It all started on Easter. After church, I went to my warehouse job. My shift ended at around 10 p.m. It was completely dark by then, but I still didn't want to ask any of the guys for a ride. I would rather get home by myself. Luckily, the first leg of the trip is easy. There's a bus stop right outside the warehouse, so I waited there. While I was standing around, something caught my eye. Something flashy, lying on the ground. I thought it could be valuable at first, like jewelry maybe, but once I got a closer look, I realized it was just an Easter egg, one of those plastic ones that pop open and usually have candy inside. I would have given it more attention, but just then I saw the bus appear down the road. I popped the egg into my pocket, then got ready to board. Getting off the bus, I began the last leg of my trip home, about a mile walk. If I cut through the nature preserve, I could shave off about 10 minutes. People mostly used it for dirt biking, but that was impossible at night without lights, so it was totally clear. Of course, that meant the whole stretch was dark as hell. No street lights, barely any moonlight thanks to the trees, and a whole lot of shit to trip over. I knew the route pretty well though, as this was probably my 100th time cutting through the woods. And yet, this was my first time I ever encountered another person on the trail. I spotted him about 2/3 of the way through, blocking my path. In the darkness, my eyes played tricks on me. It genuinely looked like a man crossed with a rabbit, but obviously that wasn't possible. It was Easter, so it had to be someone in a bunny costume. Yet, they were alone, stationary, and facing directly at me. I stopped in my tracks and stared, waiting for them to move. I couldn't tell what kind of person was under the costume, but the longer they stood there like that, the more I was sure they weren't right in the head. None of my options were good. I could either A, turn back and take the long way around, getting home almost an hour late, B, try to go around them and test my luck with parts of the woods I was unfamiliar with, or C, head straight for them and hope to slip by. I hated the thought of getting any closer to them, but in my mind, the best decision was the one that got me home the quickest. So, I took C. I began walking toward them again, though quite slowly, figuring they would eventually move out of the way. They didn't. Eventually, I got close enough to tell it was a man. The bunny costume he was wearing was far from a symbol of purity or innocence, but a dirty, ragged mess pulled from a pile of discarded junk. It was too late to turn back, though. I could see the whites of his eyes. He was staring at me. I knew he was probably going to follow me, and had probably planned to from the start. So I needed to be headed toward home, so I could get somewhere secure. But I was too scared. When I got about 20 feet from him, I couldn't force myself to go forward anymore. My legs locked up, outright refusing to go through with my plan. Now, I was just a weak toss away from this freak, only realizing in that moment he was holding his hands behind his back. Depending on what he was hiding, my fate was already sealed. He didn't look like the talking type, but it was my last chance of getting out alive. Hey, dude. I think Easter's over. You can, go home, maybe change out of that costume, you know? Whoa, hey, stay back. Stranger danger, all right? You're kind of freaking me out. Oh, shit! No, no, please, no! Get away! Oh, thank God. The concept is loosely tied to the Bunny Man urban legend from Fairfax County, Virginia. In the original 1970s sighting, a man in a bunny suit reportedly threatened people with an axe, but modern horror films have evolved the weapon to a chainsaw for increased cinematic gore.
Every Easter, I remembered the day I let the heart of our family slip through my fingers. I was just a kid back then. My sister was 10. We fought a lot over stupid things, but our parents knew they could trust us to look out for each other. They would leave us home alone, and we would even walk around the neighborhood by ourselves. I guess living in a small town made everything feel safer. Of course, that was all about to change. On Easter Sunday, my family went to church for an extended service. There was a big potluck and an Easter egg hunt planned after. For a whole week leading up to Easter, my sister had been asking our parents if she could hide the eggs. I was enlisted to go with. It just didn't feel right to send a little kid outside on their own. But somehow, sending 2 little kids made it all better. Admittedly, I was kind of stoked. It didn't take long for my sister and I to start fighting over who got how many eggs. We were looking high and low for the best hiding places, of which there were a few, but we weren't paying attention to anything else. After all, nobody was around. And then, at the same exact time, my sister and I stopped dead in our tracks. One of the cars was moving, slowly creeping through the parking lot. A large black SUV headed right for us. As naive kids, our first thought was that somebody was trying to cheat at the egg hunt. My sister clutched the basket to her chest, and I stood in front of her, as if to somehow conceal the location of the last one we hid, or how many were left. Within seconds, the SUV was almost on top of us. Then it lurched back before becoming motionless. A moment later, the door opened, and a balding man in a blue shirt stepped out. He didn't step out fully though. He stood on the lower frame of the car and leaned out, holding onto the door for support. There was a smile on his face, but with way too much sweat beating down for the weather that day, neither of us could understand exactly what he wanted, even as he started to speak.
Hey, kiddos. What are you two doing out here?
We're hiding Easter eggs? What does it look like?
Yeah, go away. You're cheating. No one is supposed to know where they are.
Oh, I'm not participating in the hunt, but, you know, I could help you hide them.
Really?
Sure. Somewhere nobody will find them. Then everybody will remember you as the best egg hider in history.
Yeah, right. How is that even possible?
Just lay a couple in my car, then I'll drive away. If you don't tell no one I was here, people will think they just vanished.
Well, okay. Maybe just one.
What? Sis, wait!
Suddenly, my sister took an egg out of the basket into her hand, then started walking around to the side of the SUV. The man stayed half in, half out, holding onto the inside by the handle and holding his other hand out toward my sister. She didn't realize what she was doing. I ran after her, but right as I yelled at her to stop, the man grabbed her by the arm and yanked her into the car. She flew past him into the passenger side. I panicked and kept running right toward the man. I was thinking I could fight him or stop him, but out of nowhere, he raised his leg and kicked me square in the face. I got knocked back right to the ground. The The double impact took the wind out of me. I struggled to get up, to even catch my breath. I tried to scream for help, but the only noise that came out was a pitiful groan. When I looked back up, I saw the SUV speeding off, churning up the grass as it was about to get on the driveway and disappear. In that moment, I was thinking I had just let my sister get taken. I started to cry, just as the devil seemed to win. A miracle happened. I squeezed the tears out of my eyes right in time to see it. The door opened again, and this time, my sister tumbled out. She rolled a dozen times across the grass, taking a hard hit, but the SUV didn't come back for her. The man inside kept going, trying to get away from what he had done. At last, I could stand, and I ran straight to her. She was just getting to her feet as well, with just some bumps and scrapes, but she had too much adrenaline to start crying. She was frantically telling me how the other door was locked, so she had to crawl across the man's lap to jump out of the driver's side. He must have not expected it, or perhaps something about that distracted him. Either way, she made it out, and soon, the congregation came out after hearing the noise. The man was later caught and arrested, but the whole town was shaken by what happened. They kept telling my sister how brave she was. I'm grateful she's okay, but I felt worthless. I wasn't brave enough, quick enough, or smart enough to save her. She had to save herself. Every Easter, I think if I couldn't save a little girl, I'm not capable of saving anyone. In April 2010, a 10-year-old girl narrowly escaped an attempted abduction during an Easter egg hunt at a church in Montgomery, Alabama. The girl and her brother were outside hiding Easter eggs on Easter Sunday morning when a man in a black SUV approached them. The man pushed the boy to the ground and forced the 10-year-old girl into his vehicle. The girl managed to jump from the SUV as it was speeding away, potentially as the suspect moved from the passenger side to the driver's side. Police searched for a white male in his late 30s or early 40s with a bald spot on the top of his head, who was seen wearing a blue polo shirt and black pants. Surveillance video from the church helped identify the suspect as James Scott Carringer, who was later taken into custody in Georgia. The incident caused significant alarm in the community, with parents and church members emphasizing the need for tighter security during public events.